you bring a friend today?
I guess I'm a friend.
I brought Neenah.
There's the friend. Oh, okay.
Oh,
I
I'm not
Yay.
I also invited David Kelley. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make it or not. Yeah, and I see Councilmember Brigham is with us this morning as well.
Oh,
So,
good.
yeah.
Good.
So we'll give it to about 5 minutes after, and then we'll get started.
I just want to say, Savannah, I'm in the office and Savannah's here, my associate director, so don't say anything bad about her. Okay?
I'm sorry. Is there anything bad about her?
No.
I didn't realize there was.
That's what I was thinking.
She's like a superstar.
It's supposed to be a joke, but it's been a long morning already.
Oh,
I know.
Well, I'm sitting here in City Hall this morning in the conference room, and out back, they're taking down that modular unit. So if you hear some construction noise, you'll know what it is. So
oh, so that's happening today.
today and tomorrow.
Good.
Yeah.
It's a mass of rubble right now, and now they're just hauling it up on the truck. So,
Oh, happy day.
yes.
It'll look different over there.
I had to get up and put on the air conditioning. So, excuse me.
That's okay.
Well, why don't we go ahead and start having a conversation. And this is just an open conversation. Everybody can just join in whenever you'd like. I have a little agenda of a few things that I'd like to talk about today. And I'm going to be calling on a couple individuals to say a few words about different topics. So let's just chat a little bit about voting this year. This is probably the first time that I could remember where Sonoma County, they've actually opened the voting 3 days early. You can now vote October the 31st, November the 1st, the 2nd, and of course on the 3rd. And the poll will be open at the Citrus Fair. And that's the only voting place to do in-person voting in Cloverdale is at the Citrus Fair, regardless of where you live. The other interesting thing this year is, I'm not surprised, but it did surprise me how well thought out this whole process is. The Registrar of Voters actually has a plan because of the fires that we have going on and the evacuations. You can now go to any voting poll in Sonoma County. So if you're evacuated and for some reason you're down in Petaluma, October the 31st, the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd, you can go into their voting hall, give them your name, show them your identification, and they will print a ballot specifically for you, for your community. So if you have council members running it like we do in Cloverdale, their names will appear and only their names. So it'll be specific for you. So I just think that's fantastic that they thought about doing that. You can also just drop your ballots back in the mail, or you can put them in the secured ballot box. Cloverdale has one location, and that ballot box is in front of the Veterans Hall. And something else about that ballot box, it has a fire suppression system within it. So if somebody tries to drop a match or burn some ballots, it's just not going to work. The fire suppression system will kick in. We have asked the police department at the county's request to make sure they drive by there a couple of times a day, just keeping an eye on things. And of course, they'll be emptying that ballot box throughout the voting period. So you've got a couple different ways. You can either go vote in person, you can vote at home and then drop it in the mail, or you can vote at home and then bring it to the ballot box. So I think that's that's a no excuse for people not to vote this year. Also, just an FYI, I'm happy to announce that this Friday, tomorrow, the city parks will all be open. So you will be able to go to any city park, the restrooms will be open, the playgrounds will be open. The park crew will be doing some sanitizing on the schedule that's put out by the county. So a couple of times a week, they'll be going into the restroom, they'll be fogging with their sprayers and whatever other protocol, wiping down the equipment, you know, the playground equipment, and making it available for the community. So I think that's really that's a light at the end of the tunnel there as well. The Safe Routes to School project, I think most of you know that's completed now. So we've extended the sidewalk and the bike path from the end of the Clover Springs property, right where the CDF fire station is, all the way down to the Ferber Plaza, which is, it makes it a lot safer. I wish we can, and we're probably still working on trying to get some more lighting along that walkway there because it is still dark. But at least the pathway is done. Neenah, just join in.
I like to raise my hand.
Okay.
With a little schoolgirl. So how about the corner of South and the Boulevard? It looks like they're gonna do a bike thing there, a bike lane there, and of course they did the curbs, is that what's happening there? I wasn't sure.
South, Hillsburg Avenue and Cloverdale Boulevard, they're doing what's referred to as traffic slowing features, just to kind of slow the traffic down. They did the bump outs where they extend into the street a little bit. Flashing lights will be going up. If you recall, at that particular intersection, you push the button and the pavement lit up a little bit.
Well,
unless it rains. Well, that from day one, that was a problem for us. So that's going to be finishing up. The cement is all poured, and we're just waiting for the final touches on that. So that's exciting as well. What else?
Gus, is
Melanie,
it going to be a lane there too? It looked like that was being stenciled out, but I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I'm not sure that there is a bike lane there already. Going north to south. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, but I thought it looked like it was being, it looked like they were doing something that was maybe refreshing it or something. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, they might be doing that. I don't know all the specific details. So they chase me out of there when I go look. So,
Of course they do.
Melanie, would you, Councilmember Cruz mentioned the food drives and distribution that's happening at the Citrus Fair. Could you share a little bit of that with us?
You bet. So we just had our third one. It's on Mondays. It is from 4 to 5:30. Redwood Empire Food Bank is who we are distributing the food from. The first Monday we had probably 350 households that we served. Second one, we had a few less, probably more like 200. And then last Monday we served probably closer to 300. While we're doing that, we're doing some outreach too. So we've been handing out some flyers to talk about, you know, the Nixle alert, the go bag. This last one, I've got a flu shot clinic coming up at the Citrus Fairgrounds on the 21st. And so we did an outreach to, in particular, a lot of the Latinx population that maybe couldn't afford a flu shot. So we actually got about 25 names on the list for people who will come and get their flu shot. The 21st from 3 to 5. And we have a sponsor who is going to be sponsoring the cost of the flu shot. So I'm very excited about that because it really does give us an opportunity not only to feed, those that are most needy in our community, but also to do outreach with that as well. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. I lost my train of thought there. So it's going very, very well. And I will say that I was very excited to see we've had a lot of volunteers helping. And this last one, we had about half of the volunteers show up. And we ended up with people who were in line to be a recipient of food actually say, I want to help. And we ended up with more than enough people. So not only are they being a recipient, they're also there volunteering. So I just feel like it's a wonderful way that the community is helping each other.
Melanie, do you notice a lot of people not wearing masks? Or are we doing anything to distribute masks to those that need it at that event as well?
Well, I'm so happy that you asked that. So I will say the majority of the people are wearing a mask. We are, the volunteers that are helping there are being very clear that in order to continue with the process, they must have a mask on if they're an adult in the car, and they do comply. I will be getting about 500 masks tomorrow, and that's part of what we'll distribute on Monday at the Citrus Fair. So we are, and I can also reach out to Alma Bowen, who will try to get me some more masks if needed as well. So we are getting the word out, and we're also handing out the physical mask if needed. So it's very encouraging, Gus.
That's great. And
I have a question.
yes, Mary Ann. Yeah, just chime in.
I'm just curious. Marta at the council meeting last night mentioned that, Melanie, that you needed volunteers. Is that for the food distribution? It doesn't sound like you need them, though. Do you have enough volunteers?
Well, the first two food distributions, we definitely had plenty of volunteers. And for whatever reason, on Monday, this last one, we didn't have as many people arrive to help. But what happened is this beautiful situation of recipients saying, I will help and volunteer. And so I don't think we should flood it. If you know of a handful of people, we could always use them.
Okay.
Good. Well, I'm going to try and get there. You know, that we also have a 4th District conference call every Monday morning. But I'm going to try and get there this Monday, make a special effort to be there and maybe help you pass out some food. So
that'd be awesome, Gus. That'd be awesome.
Good. Last night's council meeting, the city council decided that we were going to cancel 2 of the upcoming meetings we have, November the 25th and December the 23rd. And the reason we're doing that, needless to say, is because it falls right around the holiday. So we'll be running one meeting in November, the second Wednesday, and of course in December, the second Wednesday. City Council is always available should the need arise to have an emergency meeting. So just to let you know, City Council is ready to be on duty, but we're canceling those 2 meetings. So Neenah, could you? Oh, she stepped away. I was going to ask her to share a little bit about the Halloween celebrations, so we'll get back to that in a second. Last night at the council meeting, we also were introduced to our 2 new student liaisons. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with a program that was started by Council Member Russell and Joe Paula quite a few years ago. And 2 students from the high school, liaisons. They come to the city council meetings, they report out on what's happening, what the student body has to share. They also take information back. And they're also invited to chime in on some of the conversations and discussions that we're having. So the two new student liaisons this year are Summer Lands and Jennifer Ramirez. I know Summer is a junior. And Mary Ann, do you know if Jennifer is a junior or is she a senior?
I don't know if she ever said, but I thought she was a senior this year.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see that Summer was a junior, but you know what? Very intelligent young lady, very articulate, and they're both going to do a good job.
And I know that the Chamber Board also invited students to be the liaison between the school and the Chamber. We usually work with the counseling folks at the high school, but we do ask for juniors because usually about Christmas or the holidays in your senior year, of course, things are different now, but the kids are just not thinking about anything but end of school. So
yeah,
no, they're thinking about a lot more things now, but.
And I'm really glad to, or happy to say that they also receive a small scholarship thanks to the Kiwanis Club and I believe Reuser contributes to that as well. So they receive a small $700 scholarship for their efforts. So it's not much, but it buys a couple books. So
It all helps.
it does, Al.
I raised 5 kids. It all helps.
Neenah, did you want to share with us a little bit about the Halloween festivities that are coming up?
You know, Halloween we got together with a small group of businesses and the Chamber, and we said, what can we do COVID friendly for Halloween? Our kids don't have anything to look forward to. Their parents are looking for things, hopefully, that will get them interested in cruising town and being costumed and all of that. So we put together a week of Halloween festivities. It kicks off actually on Saturday the 24th with a movie, a family-friendly Halloween movie, Hocus Pocus, at the Citrus Fair. It's a drive-in presented by the Alexander Valley Film Festival. That same day, there are 2 week-long kid-friendly activities that we are promoting. One is a contest where businesses were invited to decorate their windows, include spiders in the decoration, and the kids will get a map of those businesses and count the spiders, submit their entry form for a chance to win. Then there's also a neighborhood pumpkin patch where you can download a template or come to the Chamber, to the little kiosk in front and pick one up, have the kids color it, post it someplace where it can be seen from the street or from the sidewalk. And we'll list those streets, and then the kids will tell us how many pumpkins on that street they saw, fill out the entry form and win a prize for that. And then those are 2 week-long activities. Those start on Saturday the 24th and go through Halloween. And then on Friday the 30th, we've got what we call the Cloverdale Spooky Crawl. And it's going to involve like 6 vehicles starting at Jefferson School, using the footprint that the teachers used on the last day of school and winding through the neighborhoods. We've got the police department leading it off. We've got a chamber float donated, or flatbed donated by Reuser. We've got the Lions Club. We've got the Villas. We've got Toot Rockene, who's done a fabulous job at the little coffee place south of town. And we've got Vintage Fire Truck, and then our fire district also. So we're going to be handing out candy in the neighborhoods. The map is also on our website under Halloween Fun. So they're going to get their fill of candy that night. They're also going to get their fill of candy at the Trunk or Treat on Halloween, which will be a drive-through at the Citrus Fair from 4 to 7. And I mean, if you find it in your heart that donate some candy, we'll be able to use it. We've got pounds of candy, but we're gonna need more. Count on it. So wrap, bag, candy, whatever. We're here. We're happy to share it with our kids. And this is the poster, and we've been posting it on social media. We're gonna next week focus on each of the individual events. So keep your eyes peeled. You'll see spider webs and spiders in windows. That's what it's all about. So hopefully it'll generate a lot of enthusiasm, and kids will have something to do. And the school they've emailed their parents Spanish and English versions of the poster, so that's another way to let people know what's going on. We've fielded lots of calls. All the submissions are online, but if you have any questions or any concerns, you can always call or email me, and we'll get it squared away. So we're looking for Halloween fun.
Yeah.
We're looking for
Neenah,
COVID friendly.
Neenah, this is my favorite one now, number 5.
Oh, number 5, I forgot the mayor.
Thank you, please.
So there's also an outdoor decoration contest, and you could decorate your home in either Dia de los Muertos theme or Halloween theme. Again, you submit your house. The mayor will do a drive through town and select the winner, and they will win a nice little prize. It'll be a street appeal. So we've got some great, they started weeks ago. I know because I walk all the time, and it's actually a little scary.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, we got a great thumbs up from all of the mayors in Sonoma County. Every Friday afternoon, the 9 mayors of Sonoma County do a Zoom call, and we just kind of share what's going on in our communities. And of course, we won top prize for Halloween events and keeping them safe. So Neenah, that's all on you, and we thank you for that.
Well, it's not, believe me, I'm just a player. But one of the things that was interesting is we just got the guidelines from the county public health officer and those folks about how to do Halloween in a COVID friendly way. But David had shared with me some other guidelines that the rest of the state was using. So we kind of used those and used our sense and put together something that we hope will be fun and be safe. But we don't want people coming from all over either, which is so weird, me saying that, because I'm like, please come, stay, eat.
Well, that was the same situation we had with the fireworks display around the 4th.
Yeah.
We were just afraid people were going to be coming up from all over, and we didn't want. Yeah.
And they would have, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, Neenah. And I think I'm going to get out. Maybe.
But you've got a daunting job to do.
Yes, and I'm going to start on it early, probably the day before Halloween. So, but I'll chat with you.
And I'm happy to go with you, except I might be busy in the crawl. But we'll work that out.
Well, I was going to ask the vice mayor to join me if he's available. He's got a couple of young kids, and I'll be looking for their thumbs up as well. So we'll see.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you, Neenah.
Thank you, Amanda. Lots of people were involved with this.
Well, that pretty much covers the light stuff. Now let's get into some of the topics that we discussed at last night's city council meeting. In particular, I want to talk about the ballot initiatives that we supported, starting with Measure BB, Measure DD, Measure R, and Measure 20. And I'm glad to see our city manager joined us because he could fill in some of the holes here. But just, I'm sure most of you are aware that, the initiatives that have numbers on them, like number 20, number 15, number 16, those come from the state. Those are state initiatives. The letters, the BBs, the Rs, the Os, those are local municipality driven. So just so you can tell kind of right away what's local and what's coming out of Sacramento. The first one we discussed, and we discussed this a few weeks ago, was Measure BB. And that's a measure whereby the voters would approve the sale of the, and just excuse me 1 second, I just want to make sure I get the wording properly, of the North Sonoma County Health Care District That ballot initiative seeks approval, allowing St. Joseph's of Sonoma County to acquire that property. Without that acquisition, the hospital will close. It just can no longer afford to stay open with the debt that they have. And the reason the city council, one of the big reasons we're supporting it is, you know, the next closest facility, if you have to be transported by ambulance to a hospital, the next one is probably 20, 30 minutes away. And that's very well the difference between life and death. And I know on one occasion, my wife was taken to Hillsburg, and we're glad she was there, that hospital was there to treat her. So that we felt was a really important measure. And I'm going to invite Neenah and anyone else that wants to comment on their viewpoints on that to please chime in.
It has served my family in multiple instances. And the last time, I mean, without it, it would have been a 20-minute further drive in an ambulance or a transport. I think people are more comfortable moving here. They're more comfortable being part of the community if they know that their most immediate and just important health needs are covered, especially in an emergency. They're amazing. I mean, they are amazing. So I mean, I was here when the first parcel tax was requested, and then the second parcel tax was requested. It is, I mean, we can't not have that quality of medical care that far away. We just can't.
Well, and the other thing is, this is not an increase in the parcel tax. This is just
No,
an acquisition approval.
But
And even if the hospital closed its doors, that parcel tax will not go away, because the verbiage in that parcel tax, like most for district hospitals, until the debt is gone, even if the hospital is closed, that tax has to be collected. I know it gives comfort to people that lend, financial institutions that lend hospitals money, because they know they have that fallback. You know, that money will always be collected to pay that debt. So the city council was really a big supporter on that.
And one of the things that Healdsburg does, even though it's not a trauma center, is that it will stabilize people. It will use telemedicine to get the right medical people and equipment to the patient. I just, you know, I just can't say enough. They will promote transportation to other facilities when it's required, and they've stabilized the patient. So I don't think there's any bad news here. I don't really understand what the resistance is, and if it's because it's a Catholic entity, or I don't understand.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this, I think it's very important, and I often use Healdsburg Hospital as the excuse for not actually living in Cloverdale. Some of you probably heard me say that. Say, oh, you don't actually live in Cloverdale. Well, no, you know, 30 plus years ago, we moved up here and we looked at Cloverdale first, and we had 5 children, and they were all very young. And my youngest was adopted, and she was born under the influence, had a lot of health issues. So we opted to move to Healdsburg simply because we're about 4 blocks from the hospital now. And my daughter, who was born under the influence, we have had to have emergency care for her more than once when she was little. And thank God that we were really that close to the hospital at the time. I'm not using it as an excuse now. Now it's just a matter of time before I get to Cloverdale. But honestly, with the families, you know, that's a big reason, you know, to have that medical facility close. I'm with Neenah. I can't say enough good about it. It's been great. One of my daughters has did her residency as a nurse there, and it's just an incredible facility to have so close by, and I don't see what the resistance is either.
And there are a number of people that I know that have moved from the coast because of medical, the necessity of medical help, and moved to Cloverdale because they couldn't get that kind of medical treatment close enough by where they felt comfortable without a helicopter ride or a ride from Sea Ranch or whatever.
I have friends that are, yeah, along the same lines. I have friends that are out way further up north that are moving or working their plan to move down to Cloverdale or closer to the Hillsburg Hospital, and simply because they're getting older and upper years and they need more trips.
Yeah. Well, like I
was just going to say, I just want to echo what both you and Neenah have said. In my family, we've had 3 very serious situations, and the fact that we could, make it to Hillsburg Hospital, call and say, hey, this is what happened, we're on our way, and we had somebody meeting us right at the emergency room door. We were in, my son and my sister-in-law were both seen immediately, and I can't say enough good things either about having it, and it does give peace of mind because as we age, it's of high importance to have the hospital near you. But 2 of the emergency times were with my son, so obviously he's not that old. So any age, it's important to have it.
I don't know about anybody else's experience, but I will tell you that I've had to take people to the emergency room in Santa Rosa and wait a half an hour just to get them to be seen. I have never had that experience at our local hospital. Usually you can get right in to see somebody, and it really, I've never had to wait more than a couple of minutes to get one of my kids in the doors to be seen.
Yep.
So I think the service is great as well.
Well, yeah, I think the confusion, I think basically it is simply that confusion. The ballot initiatives sometimes are written in such a way that, you need a pie chart to dissect them all and figure out what the true meaning is. But I think this is a win-win for the community. The next one that we fully supported was Measure DD, which is the Sonoma County Transportation Authority Go Sonoma. And that's a current sales tax that's on the books now. I believe it's a quarter of a cent, David, is it not? And that's due to expire in 2025. And this is an extension of that. The city of Cloverdale receives approximately $150,000. It's per capita is the way it's distributed, but we receive about $150,000 from that, which goes for street improvements, and it can only be used for road repair. That could be striping of roads, filling potholes.
Potholes, yeah.
Yeah, or paving. But David, did you want to maybe chat just a little more on that, where I seem to be leaving gaps in the conversation?
Well, Gus, I think you covered the basics. It is an extension of an existing tax. The existing tax we refer to was Measure M that was approved by the voters. It expires in 2025, so there's a little more time on the existing Measure M quarter-cent sales tax, but time was of the essence, and the decision made to bring it forward for the voters to consider, extending it. And it provides, as the mayor indicated, it does provide an important source of local funding for road projects, and in addition to the estimated annual funding that's provided of a little over $150,000. There's also additional funding that will be available for larger capital improvement projects on a competitive basis. So we've identified, our council has identified some larger capital improvement projects that, when we're ready, we've got more design work done. They're under Measure DD. That funding would be available on a competitive basis to support other projects. it's important to note that, you know, a couple projects, well, the most recently, the Safe Routes to School project, that's the new sidewalk that was north from Ferber Plaza. Some of the funding, Measure M funding, was used to cover the cost of that project. There's Measure M funding that's going to important repair work on Vista View, the drive, the slide repair, and the street up there. In addition to the work that's being done on Cloverdale Boulevard at the intersection of Healdsburg Avenue. So those funds are being put to use locally in our community and helping to fund. You know, the issue with these projects is you often have to source multiple funds to be able to carry out the project. So it's not. We don't look at Measure M as funding any one singular project. It's a funding source that helps leverage grants. In the case of Safe Routes to School, there was another $100,000 from the Metropolitan Transportation Commission that was added to it. So it really does help leverage additional funding for local projects. So from that perspective, I think council supported endorsing it because it does bring funding directly to the city. But in addition to projects, the existing Measure M fund, but also Measure DD, dedicates a portion of that as tax proceeds to transit operations. And of course, that's critical, particularly for our senior community in Cloverdale, helping to fund the operations of Sonoma County Transit and our local Route 68. So it's not something that's talked about a lot, but it is an important funding source for our bus service in the entire county.
Thank you, David. Anyone else have any comments on that? Well, just wrapping it up, I know it's not a significant amount, but nevertheless, anything helps. I mean, it's mind-boggling how much it costs for the city to redo a street. I just wish there was an easier, less expensive way, but unfortunately there's not. And so we all supported it. That was great. Then we also talked about Measure R, and that received full endorsement from the City Council. And of course, that's our local initiative, extending our user utility tax from an expiration date of 2023. I'm sorry, 2020. Yeah, 2023. And we're going to, we just want to extend the expiration date till it's actually voted on again by the community. So the date, it has no end. The thing I like about it, there's a couple things I like about it. First of all, if you're a senior, you can apply for a pass where we would not charge you that user utility tax. There's also a review committee that reviews how we actually spend that. And that committee is made up of 3 individuals, Carol Giovannotti, who is the retired city manager from Sonoma, and she used to work for the city of Cloverdale. Mike Nixon, the local restaurant owner here in town, and Neenah from the chamber. So they oversee how that money is actually being spent, and they make sure that it's being spent according to the ballot initiative. So it's not a new tax, it's just a continuation of the 3%, and that would have no expiration until such time as the vote is said enough is enough.
And Gus, I think the most important component of this particular utility user tax is that it can't be clawed it can't be the funding, it stays in Cloverdale. It's for things like police cars and dispatchers and positions and safety. And, you know, I mean, our little town, we don't have deep pockets. We don't have a lot of tourism dollars. We don't have, most places don't right now, but we look to the future. But I mean, we can't make do without it.
Yeah. Well, you know, you're absolutely right. And you started to use the phrase clawback. And, you know,
It's a clawback, but it's a big pincer that will.
yeah. You know, TOT tax, transit and occupancy tax, is one tax that is collected by the city. 100% of that bed tax that we collect stays in the city. You know, when people pay their property taxes, and David's going to correct me if I'm wrong here, the last time I looked, but for every dollar you pay in property taxes, the city of Cloverdale gets 17 cents. And everything else goes to the state, goes to the county, goes to the school district. So we get 17 cents on the dollar. Sales tax, I think, is even less, 7% maybe, David? So for every...
I thought it was 1%.
It's 1% of the 8.25.
Yeah. So for every dollar we get, you know, we get 1%, which is nothing. But this tax, you know, we have total control over it. It comes directly to the city, and the same with our TOT tax. So, needless to say, we supported this 100%, and it's something that we need as a city. So.
And just the Cloverdale Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors also supported it unanimously.
So, and David, it does not cover. You're not taxed on your water and sewer.
That is correct. It's cable and telecommunication services. So video and phone is where the utility user tax is applied to individual customers and residents within the city.
Is it energy too? Isn't it on our PG&E bill?
They have a franchise fee. It's a little different. And those are usually consistent across, you know, every city, unless a particular city has increased the franchise fee rate. So the franchise fee is a little different than actually a utility user tax. But the UUT does not apply to PG&E.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's not your PG&E, it's not your water, it's not your sewer. So it's the luxury items, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. But it's $445,000. You know, that's a gaping hole if that disappears. So we supported it 100%. Lastly, we talked about Measure 20, Prop 20, and of course that's known as the Reducing Crime and Keeping California Safe. David, did you want to share a little bit about that? We did pass a resolution in support of that proposition. I have to tell you that all council members did not agree on it, but it did carry a 4-1 vote to support the proposition.
Right, happy to address that proposition. The intent of the proposition really was to clean up or amend what was previously adopted by the voters was Prop 47. Prop 47, what it did was try to address what there was some concerns or inequities regarding how criminal penalties were applied. And so for minor crimes, in some instances, someone who violated the law might have a very significant and stiff penalty in terms of their jail term or prison term. Prop 47 was intended to address that issue. Unfortunately, there was some, as much legislation, it's not written perfectly. There determined that there were some kind of loopholes where certain crimes did it over and over and over again, and it would only be a misdemeanor, meaning a repeat offender could basically get off with a ticket, and that really raised the ire, I think, particularly of public safety folks who were finding themselves writing tickets to the same individuals because they were committing crimes that were under the threshold for a felony, and we saw a rise across the state in kind of these the theft, particularly thefts. And so what Prop 20 is intended to do is provide, rather than prescriptive, provide judges the ability to, where there's special circumstances, actually charge an individual with a felony where there's some, particular aspects to the criminal activity rather than just a misdemeanor. Kind of just to balance out the conversation, there were some concerns because, ultimately what it does mean is, more folks will likely go to jail or go to prison because of if Prop 20 is passed. So there are increased costs for jail service for that. But again, it's balanced against, the public safety for our community. And I think that's why our council supports it is, doesn't just mean harsh penalties always. It just provides that the judge does have some additional authority to apply a felony in particular cases where they previously could only apply a misdemeanor. And so there's a term for it. They call them wobblers. It's kind of an interesting name, but this legislation was kind of intended to try to clean up or amend some of what was perceived as some of the loopholes in the previous proposition or Prop 47.
And I think for me, Prop 47 causes a lot of the problems that we see today, I think. It used to be, and if Prop 20 is passed, it will be again, where if somebody is picked up and they have a certain amount of narcotics or, they'd spend a little time in jail, which gives them the opportunity to dry out, to get clean, to get sober, and hopefully at the end of that 30 or 60 days that they're waiting to go in front of the judge, they'll be able to get into some type of a rehabilitation program. The way it is now, under Prop 47, it's almost like cite and release. They're given a date to appear, and who knows if they ever show up or not. So,
this weekend is my weekend spent to go through all of the ballot things, which it's a bit daunting in my mind. But is this? Do you know whether the people talk about the fact that people can walk out of a store with almost $1,000 worth of merchandise and not be arrested? It's a misdemeanor, I think. But is that part of that whole thing too, or is it separate and distinct?
Exactly.
Well, according to the little ballot thing here that I have, it says that Prop 47 raised the theft limit from 450 to 950. Prop 20 does not change that, according to this. So that threshold of 950 is not going to change.
And can I pipe in on this one?
Absolutely, yes. Marion.
Okay, the taking it up to 950 was a good thing, but on the other hand, there's a lot of people who are addicted or who just don't want to do anything, have like serial. In fact, I've known a couple that I've talked to in counseling that their whole job every day is just to go steal, and that's what supports them. And the police are getting really frustrated because they steal $500-600, go out to the car, get rid of it, go to the next store, do $500-600, because they know they're not going to get popped and they're not going to get any time. They're just going to be, and I'm sure for the police department, it's maddening. But this also says that, and it's a wobbler again, but it says that if it's a serial thing, like if it's more than 3 times, then suddenly they're starting to think, well, maybe this could be a felony, maybe. But like I said, I think that one was designated as a wobbler too, where judges can come in and make a judgment on this, what's going to happen to them. And a lot of people are getting upset on the other side because they're saying, well, what about people who are just stealing food for survival? And is that fair? If somebody gets caught stealing repeatedly, if somebody gets caught stealing chicken and a steak or something, or food that, so anyway, there's back and forth to it, but I supported it. I think it's time that we give some teeth to some of these issues.
Yeah. Well, and I should have read down a little further, Neenah, I apologize. But like I said, under Prop 47, raised the theft limit from 450 to 950. Prop 20 doesn't change that. Then you go down a little further and it says, made petty theft a misdemeanor. Prop 20 changes that only when the theft is from a repeat/serial offender.
Yeah.
So I think that gives a little more teeth back into it again.
Well, I think that's law enforcement's been asking for some help with that whole thing for years.
Yeah. So anyhow, it received enough votes at last night's meeting to be supported in the form of a resolution. So.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. You know, that pretty much covers my agenda. We talked about when you can vote, where you can vote, and how you can get your ballot back. We talked about safe routes to school, Cloverdale and Hillsburg, and Cloverdale Avenue and Hillsburg Avenue. We talked about the new student liaisons. We talked about the parks being open. I shared that with him, David. Hopefully we're on schedule to get our city parks opened tomorrow. I saw Hector out there yesterday at Vintage Meadows. You know, he was a happy camper. We talked about the Halloween events, the Citrus Fair food drives, the cancellation of the city council meetings, and the ballot initiatives. What else would we like to talk about? Susie, do we have any? Neenah?
I was going to talk just a little bit about Resilient Cloverdale and that initiative that's that a lot of different groups are working on in order to enable our community to withstand a disaster, whether it be a pandemic, a fire, a bad air, whatever, floods, and sometimes multiple disasters. And it was a groundswell. It was a group. It was an idea that came to fruition after Kincaid, where we wanted to get because I'm part of it. I'm not it, but we wanted, along with the city, along with the senior center, along with some of the senior housing groups, with COPE, with the people that are tasked with helping neighbors and helping businesses withstand. Well, to be resilient. And it started out with a meeting at the Citrus Fair with a lot of different players looking at what happened during Kincaid, or I guess maybe even what didn't happen during Kincaid. And communication people needed to know where information could be obtained. Citrus Fair is a huge part of this too, by the way. There are grants that are underway. There's a PG&E agreement with the Citrus Fair to make it actually withstand, have power in the building when it becomes, well, all the time, but when it's energized as an evac center. There's a lot of effort that's going on that I don't think most of our community knows about. So we're going to start working on the branding for Resilient Cloverdale. There's going to be a banner that's going to go on the freeway where it basically says Resilient Cloverdale, where our community comes together. And there's going to be a website. It'll be resilientcloverdale.org. We're working on the Chamber's website in order to accommodate that. That's where information is going to be posted. We'll get nixles. We encourage, part of this whole thing is the sign up for nixle, do the Cloverdale nixle in addition to Sonoma County, as well as get your go bag, as well as know what your emergency plans are. So it's just kind of started. It looks kind of like this, the little logo. I know it's not very clear, but I think that you can't really have a city that talks about economic development without having a plan in place to withstand the multiple things that we've been faced with since 2017 and probably before too. So anyway, you're going to be hearing more about that. There'll be a test.
Well, thank you, Neenah. And I'm going to ask David to chime in here in a little bit, but You know, you're right. After the Kincaid fires and the Coffee Park fires, you know, I've always said that Cloverdale is an island. You know, I mean, it's a double-edged sword for us. Because we're an island, we don't have the economic opportunities that some major cities have. But by the same token, it's an island. We're a little Mayberry out here. And what really came to light for me was when we have a county-wide disaster like the Kincaid fires, we're not getting any help from anyone. Everybody's scrambling to take care of their own neighborhoods. And that's exactly where Cloverdale was. And that's why coming together, thanks to Daniel K. Wells's son and daughter, Diana, for ringing the alarm and starting us off on this. And then thanks for David Kelley for jumping in and Katie Young from the Citrus Fair and everybody coming together and trying to accomplish what we've done so far. And David's just gonna hopefully give us a little recap on where we stand. It's a moving target. It's a live document that changes constantly. So David, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, dovetail on both your comments, Mayor, and Director Hanchett's comments. You know, after the Kincaid fire, we realized that, you know, when a local emergency occurs, that we really have to be ready to take care of ourselves. You know, very, very quickly can become an island. And that was exactly what happened during the Kincaid fire with the closure of 101. You know, it was very challenging to even get fuel for our emergency vehicles in our police department. And, you know, with our small police force and our small fire department, it's even challenging to address the individual needs of our neighborhoods and our residents. And so after, you know, we held a debrief and realized that, you know, what we really need to do is come together as a community and identify how individual neighborhoods, individual groups are going to work together to be more resilient and be able to, you know, weather emergency events, whether it be a fire, whether it be an earthquake, whether it be a prolonged public safety power shutoff. That, you know, we're prepared and we're resilient. And one of the kind of the new paradigms in emergency preparedness is relying on what's referred to as COADs, which is community organizations active in disaster. And so what we've been doing, having it started out as for a while was daily calls every day at noon. Then we went to kind of 2 a week, and now we're at 1 a week. But what we do is we check in with our COAD groups, and all members of the community are really welcome. You know, of course, that means you're gonna get co-opted to volunteer and roll up your sleeves and we're you know, be put to work. But it's intended to just really coordinate all of our respective interests and activities towards making us ensuring that we're prepared for the next disaster. And within the COAD, there are kind of specific target groups that are reaching out to, you know, our senior communities that are addressing, you know, food insecurity in Cloverdale, that are targeting our Latinx population. And we haven't quite developed it yet, but we're still trying to target. There's an interest in addressing kind of a group that would assist with, you know, animals, particularly, you know, pets, you know, during an emergency event, and then last but not least, you know, how to reach out to school children and their parents, and that's something that's still in process and that we're working with. We want to involve the schools, you know, more in that, so as to, you know, target again preparedness with the schools. But with the senior community, and, you know, Melanie Hall has been very active in the senior center. Neenah's been very active in again, getting word out on emergency preparedness and all the things that, we need to do about getting your go bag ready, being prepared, notifying checking in on your neighbors. And, with the COVID pandemic, it's been really critical that we reach out to the Latino and Latina members of our community, the Latinx, as we call them, as well as indigenous populations, because COVID's particularly impacting our population of Latino community, and it's a tremendous need for food resources, and particularly for education information around some of the important health practices that weren't necessarily reaching before. And I think through the COAD, we've done some real targeting outreach that I think has helped address some of the impacts of COVID within the community. So it's kind of a ground up activity it's really about us self-organizing, and a big part of that is just us communicate and work together to ensure that we're all trying to meet the needs of the community.
Thank you, David.
I'd like to add a comment, very short one.
Go ahead, Mary Ann.
In the last few years, I have to say that this group of people are working together the way a community should work together. I'm just really proud of all of them. Everybody stepped up. There was not any bitching and moaning or backstabbing in any way. It was all done in a very, very positive way to help our community. And that's kind of lost sometimes nowadays. So I have to say that it really gave me new faith in our community to watch this group move forward. And I want to thank you all.
Ditto to that, Mary Ann. Yes.
Yes.
And
Me too.
I just want to comment that we are fortunate that Daniel and his sister Diana are the kids of Kay Wells, who lives in Clover Springs. They have been super active with Katrina and massive disasters. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it for years, and they helped us kind of organize the effort and energized. They're sort of the mortar that compelled us to do this. I mean, it was like, why wouldn't we do this? So.
Yeah, when Kay sat down and told me that she had a son and daughter that that would be interested, and I said, really? And they have experience. I went, cool. And then when he donated the amount of time he did, and David Kelley stepped right up to the plate next to him, and away we go. But Daniel has a way of making sure things get decided completely before he lets you off the hook, which is just what we needed at that time.
Yeah.
And I can't thank Kay enough. Kay browbeat them, by the way.
I would like to add too, meeting Daniel and having worked with Kay prior to that, Daniel has the cannon and they certainly know how to point it. But I just want to bring it back to what Mary Ann said. The cannon has to be loaded, and you have to shoot something out of that cannon, and without all these people pulling together and making it happen, the cannon's not loaded. So just a huge, tremendous team effort. I applaud everybody that's been part of it. I can't believe it came together so well and still rolling forward. I know David signed off on the last meeting because he had other things to do, and he put the ball in David Kelley's lap, and that's a good place to put it. I'm looking forward to this not going away anytime soon. There are people and organizations that are settling into support for the long term, and some of which need support themselves in order to keep doing that. But that's part of being resilient. I think if we keep pushing forward to this, I don't see an end to this, Mary Ann.
Nope, me neither.
Well,
David, you have to go.
Real quick, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for again hosting Coffee with the Mayor and great updates. I have actually a relative emergency call with the county, so I'm just gonna jump off this Zoom meeting, but thank you to Susie and Melanie for hosting the mayor, and participate, of course, and we'll talk soon. So
Thank you, David.
Bye,
I'll talk to you
David.
tomorrow.
Bye, David.
Hey, Gus, before we sign off, I just want to say that while we are having this call, there is a training for people that are going to be responsible for evacuees at the Citrus Fair. So there's a Red Cross training going on as we speak. There's a whole group of people that have volunteered under the stewardship of Jim DiMartini, a local attorney, and they are they're getting trained today and I think on Tuesday for what their duties are going to be when and if there is an evacuation and the Citrus Fair is being utilized.
They are going to do a copy of that, and so it will be available to anybody, I think next week, by the end of next week.
Right. It's going to be recorded.
Again, also before we sign off, I have not seen Anna or Lori or Ma on here before. You may have been on here before, but I want to say hi. Good to see you guys. If it's your first time on here, I don't know, but good to see you guys on here. Thanks for coming out.
I just want to introduce myself. Sorry, Melanie. My name is Anna. I'm the new branch manager of the Cloverdale Library. So I know Donna has been pretty involved in the community, and I'm just gonna kind of follow her around and see what she's been taking part in and get to know the community better. See how I can help.
Welcome.
Good, nice to meet
Welcome.
you.
Thank you. And I take it you're a Cloverdalian, Anna?
No, I actually live in Santa Rosa.
Uh-huh.
But I do have some family that lives in Cloverdale. So we have been in Cloverdale quite a bit. And actually there was an antique store that was run by the Seroptimus Club, I think. What's it called? It was right on the main drag on the boulevard.
Antiques and Uniques.
Yes.
Antiques and Uniques.
I used to actually sell books in there
Oh, okay.
a long, long time ago.
Yes. Okay,
I
well,
wanted
welcome.
to add, I have a camera today, so I wanted to add that we are having a community coffee coming up. Anna and I will be co-hosting, and along hopefully with John, our children's librarian. But we want to invite you guys also because it is a community coffee. So not only invite you, but also share what's going on in the community, especially Cloverdale Resilient, etc. So please, you guys are welcome. It's October 29th at 11 a.m. We do ask that you pre-register. It is on our sonomalibrary.org website under calendar events, but you're also welcome just to call the library. It's 894-5271, and we're happy to register you so that you do have a link to come.
You said
Thank you,
October
Donna.
29th at what time, Donna?
11 a.m.
Thank you.
Right.
Anyone else? Anything good for the order here? Before we go ahead. Susie, any other questions that you see, or Al, please?
I don't have a question, but good for the order is I just wanted to mention that some of our local groups are actually growing during this pandemic, and we're actually starting to add members via Zoom. Even though it's Zoom, we're still adding members. So the strength of our service organizations are actually growing during this time with personnel and people. So I just think that's a good positive note.
Thank you. Okay, well then, with that being said, if there's nothing else, why don't we go ahead and just plan on hooking up at the next date? Okay?
We'll see
Sounds
everybody
good.
next time, and that is, and my
29th.
note is gone. It'll be in November, and I will post it on the Facebook page after this.
29th of October.
Meeting is October 29th.
Oh,
Thank you.
that's October 29th.
October 29th. All right, see you guys then.
See you then.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right, thank you.
I hang up last.